the room service bill that knew our address. The envelope arrived with the gas bill and a postcard from my dentist reminding me to floss like a man with ambition. It was cream heavy, the hotel's logo pressed in gold foil that made the mailbox look richer than our building deserved. My name floated on the front like a good memory. Inside, an itemized receipt from the Metropole, room 712, 2 nights. The total wasn't obscene, the details were. Jasmine tea 113, twice. Late checkout granted. 1 rose delivered to room. A note at the bottom in polite font. Thank you for your continued loyalty, Mr. Hale. We hope your stay was restorative. We've updated your mailing address to ensure faster service. I haven't stayed at the Metropole in 2 years. The jasmine tea is hers. I held the paper at arm's length as if distance might change the math. The apartment did what apartments do when you learn a fact they don't have room for. It went still. In the kitchen, Leela's mug sat on the counter with a ring of tea drying into a tidal map. Beside it, the glass jar of jasmine pearls, a gift from me 3 birthdays ago, let its perfume into the room like evidence. She came in from the hallway tying her hair with a rubber band she keeps on her wrist for moments when the world says tighten. She looked at the envelope in my hand, then at my mouth, like the word she was about to meet might bite. "What's that?" she asked. "Room service," I said, "for a room I wasn't in." She took the bill the way you catch a falling cup, careful to absorb the error without making a mess. She read it once, then again. She set it on the counter and touched the rose line like it would smudge. "They must have my profile tied to your old address," she said, reaching for logic and finding it only half tamed. "I booked a committee room last month. I never." "Late checkout," I said, not raising my voice. The politeness felt like a blade. Her mouth tilted and then decided against performing confusion. "You want the whole story," she said. She didn't try to keep the tremor out of her throat. "It's not elegant." "I'm not gradding," I said. "I'm living here." She picked up the mug, sipped what was left, winced at the temperature, put it down. "I booked a room to say no," she said. "You already know the who." "Say it," I said, because liturgy for once would make it real. "Julian," she said. "He asked me to help on a donor letter for a youth writing fund. He always finds a cause that behaves like a mirror. He wanted to meet at the Metropole to focus. I booked the room so I could end it without making a lobby complicit." "And the jasmine?" "I couldn't sleep," she said. "I panicked at the idea of being a person who needed a bed that wasn't ours to make a decision I'd already made. Tea makes me act like a grown-up." "And the rose?" "He sent it up," she said, ashamed like someone caught with someone else's perfume. "I left it on the tray. Ask the staff if you want that detail notarized." "I don't want them in this," I said, soft. "I want us in this." The apartment exhaled. The radiator ticked as if applauding diplomacy. She leaned on the counter and looked at me in the way you look at a locked door you know you can open. You just don't know if the room will forgive you for entering. "I should have told you. I didn't want to bring him into our kitchen again. It felt like a contamination I could avoid by being quiet." "I would have preferred noise," I said. She nodded. "You're right." We ate dinner like negotiators, deliberate bites, careful eyes, forks that made polite noises. After, the jasmine jar watched us from the shelf as if deciding whether to testify. Leela reached for it, untwisted the lid and breathed it in like a decision. "Let me show you," she said. We walked to the Metropole together because walking is the antidote to paranoia when you can manage the pace. The lobby was a performance in marble and orchids. A woman with silver hair and a name tag that said DALIA smiled the way people do when they recognize regularly occurring trouble. "Back so soon?" she asked. It wasn't unkind. "My life sent me your paper," I said, and slid the bill over like a confession that had been ironed. "Can you tell me why loyalty behaves like gossip?" Dahlia scanned the lines with a glance that promised she'd seen worse and kept her job. "Your addresses were merged when the profiles were," she said, then lowered her voice. "We can make the past stop sending mail. Would you like that?" "I'd like the present to stop needing the past to make a point," I said. She tapped the keyboard with the air of a surgeon fixing an artery. "Done," she said. "No more souvenirs." We didn't go upstairs. We went across the street to Loom, where answers and people who behave like answers tend to congregate. Anna was there with her sleeves rolled up, tending to a fern like a priest who trusts photosynthesis. "You brought the jasmine," she said, nodding at the jar in Leela's hand. "Good. Prop work helps the scene." "We need interpretation," I said. "Or absolution," Leela added. Anna's mouth quirked. "I don't do the second," she said. "Mara might do the first." She tipped her chin. Mara sat by the window, red scarf precise, eyes wry. We slid into the chairs across from her like apprentices. Mara listened the way an audience you don't deserve listens. She held the bill between two fingers and said, "Spectacle is a hotel. Intimacy is a kitchen. You tried to have one while pretending to be in the other. That's why it stung." "I booked the room to end the story," Leela said. "I didn't want to audition for grief in the place where we keep our salt." Mara nodded. "That's allowed," she said. "But stories overhear themselves. They mail receipts. You can either let the invoice become the plot or you can say the line that makes it an object again." She pushed the bill back. "Say it." "I chose him," Leela said, looking at me, "not the paper. Even while I was in the wrong room, I chose the right life. The jasmine was not romance, it was triage." "And the late checkout?" I asked, because I know when I'm being handed mercy and still want inventory. "I was scared he'd be in the hall," she said. "I wanted fewer doors between me and the exit." We left the cafe with the bill folded in half and the jasmine sealed, and a new rule growing between us like a rope you can grab when the stairs are wet. At home, we didn't go to bed for amends. We went because the thing that happens when we go matters more if we let it matter. I turned the lamp low and stood in front of her and said, "I want to reintroduce myself." She smiled like a person who has been waiting to be asked to a party that is their own living room. "Please," she said. I told her my name and my stupid middle name, and the noise I made when I learned to swim, and the way I bite the inside of my cheek when I want to say something I'm not sure I can afford. I told her the part of me that wants to be a bad idea is not dead. It just needs better hobbies. She told me her name and her middle name and the first lie she told her mother, "I'm fine." And the way she wants to be asked for things, specifically, politely, with a little hunger in the voice. We undressed each other like archivists with access, careful, reverent, delighted at our own permission. Eroticism for us wasn't gymnastics, it was accuracy. The weight of her hand guiding mine lower with a soft, impatient press. The way her breath changed when I kissed the hinge of her jaw, that hinge where certainty meets softness. The way we paused when a sleeve snagged and she laughed and freed me with her teeth. The way we asked here, this, more, and answered in yeses that didn't require synonyms. Heat came the way a tide does when the moon behaves and the shore cooperates. Inevitable and always a little surprising. We finished together, not because of luck, but because we paid attention. Afterward, we lay in the draft of the window and the hum of the refrigerator and the silence that makes a room feel like it respects you. "We need rules that are tools," she said, cheek on my chest. Rule 1, I said. If a hotel has our address, it has to earn it. No secret rooms that send mail. Rule 2, she said. If I need to go somewhere to end something, I take you to the door first, even if you wait in the lobby with a bad espresso and a worse magazine. Rule 3, I said. Novelty is a chore. On my weeks, I pick the wrong hour for the right thing. On yours, you move the furniture until the light learns us again. Rule 4, she said. If we miss the wrong story, we say it out loud and then do something ridiculous until it gets bored. We tape the bill to the inside of a kitchen cabinet with the face turned toward the wood, not to forget it, but to neutralize it, like a talisman that only works when it doesn't get attention. A week later, the Metropole sent an email in the cheerful tone of a brand that believes it is a person. We noticed you haven't reviewed your recent stay. I forwarded it to myself with a subject line I could live with. We were home. Then I created a filter that sent every message with restorative or exclusive straight to a folder named museum, because some pasts deserve encasement. I saw Julian on the street outside a gallery 2 days after that, navy coat pressed, smile on loan. He nodded like men do when they want to be thanked for their restraint. I didn't nod back. It was petty, it was mine. He called after me, "You chose boredom," and I said, without turning, "I chose repetition, which is what you call boredom when you've never done it on purpose." At home, we started a ritual we didn't have a name for. At 2:06 a.m., when the building sighs and the dog snorts and memory starts to audition for drama, one of us says, "Tea," and the other says, "Only if you watch me drink it." The jasmine lives in the pantry now, behind the lentils and the good vanilla, because intimacy is a pantry item. Useful, unshowy, often forgotten until it saves dinner. Sometimes the apartment still hands us little tests. A receipt in a coat pocket, a song queued up that one of us pretended we hadn't kept, a text from a number that knows how to write its allure. We don't grade ourselves anymore. We read the question out loud and then go do something that belongs only to us. Peel oranges over the sink, move the couch 2 inches, play a song to the end before anything important, kiss in the doorway because rooms like to be included. Months later, a package arrived with no return address. Inside, a single rose pressed between wax paper, a note in Anna's precise hand. "You left this behind." Beneath, in another ink, a scrawl I recognized as Mara, "Keep the flower if you can keep the quiet." We slid the petal-thin thing under the glass of a cheap frame from the art store and set it on the shelf behind the jasmine. It's visible only if you kneel. We are not pure. We are answerable, occasionally ridiculous, often brave in ways that don't photograph well. The frame on our bookshelf still tries to be smart and sometimes forgets and shows us a picture we'd rather not entertain. We don't mute it anymore. We sit with it. We say, "That was the wrong room," and then we say, "This is the right kitchen." And we pour water over pearls that unravel into fragrance, and we drink slowly, and we look at each other over the rim and say our names as if the hotel is still listening, which it might be, which we can't control, which is fine, because the important thing about being chosen is not the witness. It's the choosing.